What if I told you one of the most decorated footballers in history is someone you'd never pick in a street game? He's not fast. He's not strong. His dribbling? Average at best. And yet, Thomas Müller has more trophies than Cristiano Ronaldo, Pelé, and even the legendary Johan Cruyff. Sounds crazy, right? But here's where it gets even wilder. Müller has more assists than Kevin De Bruyne, Xavi, and Iniesta combined. And yet, if you read about him, you'd think he's the worst footballer in the world. They call him awkward, clumsy, amateurish, a Bambi on ice. But calling Müller awkward is like underestimating a T-Rex because of its short arms. So, how does a player with zero elite athletic traits dominate football at the highest level? Müller doesn't beat you with skill, speed, or strength. Müller just beats you. And by the end of this video you'll understand exactly why. A skinny, unremarkable kid living in a tiny German village by the Alps. No one thought he'd make it big, not even his own coaches. He wasn't like Neymar, Zidane, or even a wonder kid with a flashy name. In fact, Thomas Müller is one of the most common names in Germany. But here's what no one saw coming. First, open loop. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch, Müller had an unexplainable gift. A football IQ so high that even elite coaches couldn't figure him out. Second, open loop. And if you think his story is just about natural talent, think again. Because a dying wish from his grandfather turned Müller into an unstoppable machine. Third, open loop, and the craziest part? Müller rewrote the rules of football, inventing a position that had never existed before. One that made him virtually unstoppable. But before we get into that, you won't believe how Bayern Munich found him. It all started with one game, 7 goals, and a decision that changed history. It was just another day in a small German village. A skinny, awkward kid named Thomas Müller was playing football like any other weekend. No one expected greatness. But then, something insane happened. On that field, Müller scored 7 goals in a single game. Every scout within 100 meters dropped to their knees, because they weren't watching an ordinary player. They were watching a football glitch. See, Müller wasn't faster. He wasn't stronger. But he was always in the right place at the right time. It was like he saw the game in slow motion. And just like that, Bayern Munich made their move. But here's where it gets crazy. Müller wasn't even the top-rated talent in his age group. In fact, his name barely stood out on the team sheet. So why did Bayern pick him? Because of a secret obsession that Müller had been hiding all along. One that started with his grandfather's dying wish. But first, how does a player who lacks speed, strength, and dribbling ability dominate world football? The answer lies in a single German word that changed the game forever. And Müller? He invented it. There's a word in German that doesn't exist in English. A word so powerful, it describes an entire style of play, and Thomas Müller invented it. That word? Raumdeuter. It means space interpreter. And if you've ever wondered why Müller is always in the right place, this is why. See, while defenders are tracking speedsters like Mbappe or skill magicians like Neymar, Müller is ghosting past them unnoticed. He moves in a way that doesn't attract attention. He lurks in empty spaces. He doesn't demand the ball, but when he gets it, it's already too late. His chess, not checkers. And Müller? He's always 3 moves ahead. And Bayern Munich? They saw it before anyone else. But even with his genius-level football IQ, no one believed he would make it. Not his teammates. Not even his first professional coach. In fact, Müller was almost sold for just 1.5 million euros to a rival club. And if that deal had gone through, football history would have been rewritten. But first, how did Müller trick one of the greatest managers of all time into believing in him? The answer will blow your mind. Thomas Müller was about to be shipped off for just 1.5 million euros. A bargain price for a kid no one could figure out. But then a man walked in and changed everything. Louis van Gaal. Van Gaal took one look at Müller and said something legendary. With me, Müller always plays. Just like that, the awkward kid who had barely gotten minutes became untouchable. And in return, Müller repaid Van Gaal by leading Bayern to the top of world football. 35 goal contributions in his first full season. Clutch performances in the Champions League. The Young Player of the Year award. And by the end of the season, Bayern was 1 match away from a historic treble. But then, disaster struck. Müller scored in the Champions League final, what should have been the winning goal. 7 minutes from glory. Bayern had it in their hands. And then, heartbreak. Didier Drogba crushed their dreams. Bayern lost the final. The treble was gone. Müller was devastated. But what he did next, it changed football forever. Because Müller was about to go from a rising star to a World Cup legend. But first, What happened next was so insane that even Diego Maradona refused to believe it. After Champions League heartbreak, most players would have crumbled. But Thomas Müller? He came back stronger. Despite having just one international cap, Germany took a massive gamble. They picked Müller for the 2010 World Cup. No experience, no hype, just raw intelligence. And within 8 minutes of his first game, Müller assisted Germany's opening goal. By the third match, he was saving them from elimination. And then, in the round of 16, Müller ended England. In one of the most brutal knockout performances ever, he left England's defense in pieces, scored twice, assisted another goal. It was football surgery, a masterclass in movement. And England? They never saw him coming. But here's where it gets crazy. Before facing Argentina in the quarterfinals, Diego Maradona refused to sit next to Müller in a press conference. Why? Because he didn't know who Müller was. He thought he was just a ball boy. Big mistake. Because just 3 minutes into the game, Müller scored against Argentina. He didn't just prove Maradona wrong, he humiliated him. And by the end of the tournament, World Cup Golden Boot winner at just 20 years old. Best young player of the tournament. 10 World Cup goals before his 25th birthday. And yet, somehow, the world still underestimated him. But that was about to change. Because what Müller did 4 years later, it shocked the world. It was 2014. The World Cup semi-final. Brazil versus Germany. A nation of 200 million fans believed this was their year. They had Neymar. They had history. They had a home crowd ready to erupt. But what they didn't have was an answer for Thomas Müller. Because just 11 minutes into the game, Müller struck. 1-0, Brazil stunned. 2-0, silence in the stadium. 3-0, the panic set in. 4-0, fans started leaving. Soccer ball 5-0. Brazilians were in tears. And before the 30th minute, the unthinkable had happened. Germany had destroyed Brazil. Müller wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the strongest. But he was everywhere. 1 goal. 1 assist. A masterclass in movement. 7-1 final score, the greatest humiliation in World Cup history. Germany crowned world champions. And by the time Müller lifted the trophy, his numbers were undeniable. 10 World Cup goals at just 24. More than Cristiano Ronaldo. More than Thierry Henry. But even after back-to-back World Cup masterclasses, the world still struggled to define him. Because Müller isn't a striker. He's not a playmaker. He's not even a traditional midfielder. So what is he? He told us himself. I am a Raumdeuter. A space interpreter. A player who sees football differently. And that's why Thomas Müller, the awkward kid with no speed, no power, and no dribbling ability, became one of the most dominant players in history. But here's the craziest part. At 33 years old, with his career winding down, Müller has still out-assisted Kevin De Bruyne. Still dominates Bayern. Still proves that football isn't just about talent, it's about intelligence.